I never thought I'd be here, typing this out in some kind of confession, but honestly, I don't have much choice anymore. My name's Mark, and for the last 10 years I thought I was married to the perfect woman, Jessica. She's smart, beautiful, and for the most part seemed like she genuinely cared about us. We met young, got married quickly, and built this life that I thought was rock solid. We had a good routine, she was ambitious, and I was proud of what we had, or so I thought. Things started to shift about 6 months ago. At first, it was little things, forgot to call back. She'd be distant more often, and she'd get defensive if I asked about her day. I brushed it off as stress from work. I run a small tech company, and we'd been working on this climate change project that was pretty groundbreaking. It was funded by a big grant, and I knew Jessica was involved in some of the research, but I thought she was just helping out as a partner, not involved in the core development. Still, I trusted her. Then, I started noticing her phone going off more at strange times. She'd hide it when I entered the room, and once I caught her sneaking a message and quickly deleting it. I brushed it off, told myself I was imagining things, paranoia maybe. But the gut feeling kept gnawing at me. She'd be gone for hours without explanation, claiming she was at the gym or meeting friends, but I'd see her with her phone pressed against her ear, whispering. Little things, but enough to make me suspicious. One night, I decided to go through her phone when she was in the shower. I know trust is supposed to be the foundation, but my instinct told me I'd find something. And sure enough, I found a string of texts between her and someone named Alex. He was a co-founder in our project, a guy I'd trusted, until I saw those messages. They were flirting, talking about how they'd been working late to get the project ready, but the tone was unmistakable. There was talk about meeting up after hours, sharing secrets, and even some explicit stuff that made my stomach turn. It wasn't just a work thing. It was something more, and it had been going on for months. The worst part was that I knew, deep down, that they'd used our joint research, something I'd poured 2 years of my life into, like some kind of escape plan. I figured out what was going on when I saw the patent applications pop up under Alex's name, claiming credit for the breakthrough technology we developed together. Jessica's name was there too, but not mine. They'd taken everything, and it hit me like a punch in the gut. All those nights I stayed up working, trusting her to help build this thing that could actually save the planet. And she was cheating, lying, just using me and our project to run away with her lover and maybe, I don't know, start a new life. I was furious. I felt betrayed on every level, personally, professionally, morally. I'd always believed in honesty and loyalty, and now I saw her betrayal wasn't just about some affair. It was about theft, deception, and outright abandonment. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach and I couldn't breathe. I confronted her the next day, knowing I'd find out the truth, even if I didn't want to. She was bitchy right from the start, defensive and sneering. I laid it all out, showed her the messages, the patent filings, the dates, everything. Her reaction was classic Jessica: denial, then blame shifting, then outright lying. She said I was paranoid, that Alex was just a colleague, that I was overthinking it. She called me insecure, accused me of not trusting her, and then she spat out that I was always working too much, that I didn't give her enough attention. But I knew better. I knew she'd been lying to my face for months, and I felt like a complete idiot for trusting her. I never thought she'd cheat with my own partner, someone I'd shared everything with, even our dreams for this climate project that might really help save the world. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the betrayal, trying to figure out how it all fell apart so fast. I'm angry, yeah, but also hurt. Hurt in ways I didn't even think were possible. I kept asking myself why she did it, how she could lie so easily, how she could take something we built together and turn it into her escape plan. It's like everything I believed in about her was a lie. I still don't know what I'll do next, but I do know one thing. I need to get justice, even if that means tearing everything apart to do it. After I confronted her that night, the whole thing spiraled into chaos. Jessica's face got all twisted up with this combination of anger and arrogance, like she thought she was some kind of victim. She kept insisting I was crazy, that I was overreacting, and that I had no proof, despite the mountains of evidence I threw at her. She tried to spin it that I was just jealous, insecure, paranoid about losing her. Yeah, right, I'd seen enough. I told her I was done listening to her lies, that I knew everything and I was going to take action. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, feeling betrayed and sick. My mind kept racing, trying to process how the woman I loved could turn into this manipulative, two-faced cheat. The worst part was knowing that she was planning her escape, maybe even already plotting how to cover her tracks. That's when I started thinking about what I could do, what a man like me could do, to hurt her back, because I wasn't about to let her get away with this without consequences. The next day I started digging deeper. I knew I had to find out just how far her lies went, so I had a friend run some background checks on Alex, my partner, the guy she'd been screwing around with. Turns out, Alex was just as much a liar as Jessica. He'd been working on that patent with her, claiming all the credit, even though I knew damn well that most of the research was done by me and my team. I found emails, drafts, even some financial documents showing money changing hands. It was blatant theft, our idea, our work, stolen right from under us. They'd planned to patent the breakthrough, take all the glory, and probably disappear with the money. All of it funded on our joint effort, and Jessica was right in the middle of it. I felt my blood boil whenever I looked at those files. This wasn't just cheating, it was outright theft. My mind started racing with plans, revenge ideas, ways to crush them both. I knew I'd have to be strategic, though. I couldn't just blow up everything without consequences. I had to be smart, use the law, use the facts. But part of me just wanted to smash something, to see Jessica realize she'd lost everything she thought she had. That's the kind of rage I was feeling, this intense, burning desire to make her pay for what she'd done. So I spent the next few days gathering everything, copies of the patent applications, the emails, the financials. I even set up a hidden camera in her office, just in case she met up with Alex again. I wanted to record proof of her lying, scheming, and planning her little escape. Every piece I found made me feel more justified in my anger, but also more haunted by how deeply she'd betrayed me, not just as a wife, but as a partner in everything I'd worked my ass off for. Meanwhile, Jessica kept trying to gaslight me, calling me paranoid, crazy, saying I was accusing her of things she didn't do. But I knew better now. I knew her. She was manipulative, bitchy, and really good at hiding her tracks until she slipped up. And she slipped up big time. I wasn't about to let her walk away with our future, with the project that could actually help millions of people. I also started to realize how much I'd been blind. I'd focused so much on building this company, on the technology that could maybe save the planet, that I'd forgotten about Jessica's true nature. Now I saw her for what she really was, a selfish, manipulative user who would do anything to get what she wanted. Honestly, I felt dumb for trusting her that long. But what hurt the most was feeling like I'd lost part of myself, my hope, my faith, my sense of security. I thought I was building a legacy, and now I see it's all been tainted by her lies. I knew I had a decision to make, whether to fight for what's right or just walk away. Part of me wanted to burn everything down, expose her, make her regret ever crossing me. But I also knew I had to be careful, because once I started unraveling her lies, there'd be no turning back. And I wasn't just doing this for revenge. I wanted to make sure she paid for what she did, that she didn't get away with stealing our future and destroying everything I'd worked for. Once I had all the evidence, the plan started to take shape in my mind. I knew I couldn't just confront her again without risking her pulling some fast one or spinning her web of lies even tighter. I needed to be smart, calculated. The moment I realized that Jessica's betrayal wasn't just personal, it was a threat to everything I'd built, I understood I had to act carefully, strategically. I started secretly recording her, setting up hidden cameras, and even hiring a private investigator to follow her around discreetly. I didn't want her to catch me off guard again, not this time. By the end of that week, I had enough proof to bring down her whole house of cards. The emails, the patent filings, the financial transfers, and the recordings all pointed to one thing. Jessica and Alex had planned this from the start. They'd used our joint research, the funding, everything to craft their escape route. I felt sick every time I looked at the evidence, but at the same time it gave me a sense of clarity. I knew what I had to do now. I was going to confront her with everything, but I also knew I could do it alone. I needed backup, legal advice, someone who knew how to handle this kind of corporate theft and personal betrayal. I reached out to a lawyer I'd worked with before, someone who specialized in intellectual property and corporate law. She gave me a lot of good advice, told me to gather everything I had and prepare for a formal investigation. I also contacted some of my trusted friends in the industry, people who could verify that I was the real inventor of the breakthrough tech, that I was the one who deserved the credit and the profits. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about justice. Jessica, of course, didn't take my accusations lightly. The moment I confronted her with the evidence, her bitchy side really came out. She started yelling, denying everything, calling me a crazy, jealous husband, claiming I was accusing her of stuff she didn't do. That was her go-to lie. She turned the tables, tried to make me look delusional, as if I'd lost my mind. Her eyes flashed with contempt as she told me I was just paranoid, that I was insecure because I was afraid of losing control. She even cried little fake tears and said I was ruining everything, destroying our marriage over some stupid business dispute. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I knew her game. The moment of truth came when I presented her with the evidence directly. I didn't hold back. I told her I knew about her affair with Alex, about the patent theft, about how she'd lied to my face for months. I told her I was done, that I was going to expose everything and take every legal step possible to make sure she faced the consequences. Her face twisted in anger, then defiance. She spat at me that I was just a jealous, insecure bastard, that she'd spin everything, that I'd regret pushing her too far. But I knew I had her cornered now. The truth was out and her lies couldn't hold up anymore. The emotional toll was heavy. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut repeatedly. Every piece of her deception cut deep. Her betrayal wasn't just about cheating. It was about stealing our future, our dreams, everything I'd worked so hard for. I was furious, yes, but also heartbroken. I'd trusted her, loved her, believed in us. Now I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, selfish person who'd do anything to get ahead. I couldn't help but wonder how I missed all the signs, how I was blind for so long. The betrayal cut so deep I almost thought I'd never recover. But I also knew I couldn't just wallow in grief. I had to do something, something big. I called my lawyer, started filing the paperwork for the investigation, and made plans for how I'd handle her. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to see her lose everything she thought she'd gained. Honestly, part of me wanted to destroy her, to make her regret ever messing with me, but deep down, I knew that wasn't enough. I needed to win this legally, professionally, and get back what she stole from us. I had to be smarter than her, more focused. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about what this all means for the future. I don't know if I'll ever forgive her, but I do know I'll never trust her again. All the years I spent building this dream, and she just tore it apart for her own selfish reasons. That's the part that's hardest to swallow. I'll move on, whether that's fighting to get our work back or just walking away and starting over somewhere else. But I've learned one thing. Betrayal comes in many forms, and some of the people you trust the most can turn out to be your biggest enemies. The key now is to stay focused, stay strong, and do whatever it takes to protect what's mine. Once I had all the evidence in hand, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. The plan was to confront Jessica in a way that would put an end to her lies once and for all. I scheduled a meeting with my lawyer, and we prepared a legal notice demanding she cease and desist from using any of our proprietary research or patent filings until everything was sorted out. I wanted her to understand that I was serious. This wasn't some petty fight. It was about our future and the work I'd poured my soul into. I also contacted a private investigator I'd hired to gather footage of her meeting with Alex, which I knew would be the smoking gun. The morning of the confrontation, I felt sick, but also strangely resolved. I had to get this over with, to know once and for all if she was going to admit everything or keep spinning her lies. I confronted her in our living room, standing tall, holding the folders of evidence I'd collected. Jessica, that bitchy smirk on her face, looked at me like I was nothing but an annoyance. She tried to deny everything again, toss out some bullshit about how I was paranoid, jealous, and insecure. She called me crazy for suspecting her, even though I had the proof right in front of her face. I didn't give her the chance to talk much. I laid everything on the table: emails, patent applications, financial transfers, the recordings from the hidden cameras, the investigators' footage. Her face paled as she realized I wasn't bluffing. I saw her eyes flicker in panic, then anger. She started to scream, calling me a crazy, possessive asshole, accusing me of destroying her reputation over some stupid project. She even doubled down on her lies, saying she was just helping Alex out, that they were just friends, and that I was overreacting because I was jealous of her success. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her I knew about her affair with Alex, about how they'd been working together to steal the tech we'd built, and how she'd been lying to my face for months. I told her I'd go to the authorities if I had to, that I was filing a lawsuit to reclaim our patent rights and get justice. Her face twisted in rage. Then she started crying, fake tears this time, trying to manipulate me into feeling sorry for her. She called me a tyrant, that I was destroying our marriage, claiming she still loved me and that it was all just a misunderstanding. That's when I finally saw her true colors. She was a bitchy, manipulative liar who'd do anything to save her own ass. I realized I'd been an idiot to trust her so long. All those years I thought she cared, but she was just using me, using our project, using my trust, using everything we had built together for her own selfish gain. She lied about everything, about her feelings, about her intentions. The betrayal was cold, calculated, and complete. The emotional fallout hit me hard. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and even a strange sense of relief. I knew this was the end of us, but I also knew I'd survive. I'd rebuild what she tried to destroy, and I'd make her regret ever crossing me. I told her that I was done, that I was going to take back what was ours, and that she'd have to face the consequences of her actions, legal and personal. I left the room feeling exhausted but strangely lighter. It was like a huge weight had been lifted, even if the pain was still fresh. Now I'm just waiting for the legal process to kick in fully. The law is on my side, and I plan to fight tooth and nail. Jessica's been trying to spin it all in her favor, but the evidence is overwhelming. I know I'll have to deal with a lot of fallout: friends, family, colleagues. Everyone will hear about what she did. I don't expect her to go down quietly, but I'm ready for the battle. Honestly, I don't even care about revenge anymore. I just want justice. I want her to realize that you can't just steal someone's work, cheat on them, and expect to get away with it. That's not how the world works. Looking back, I can't help but feel betrayed on every level. I trusted her with my life, with my dreams, and she threw it all away for some quick sex and a get-rich-quick scheme. But I also learned something invaluable: never ignore the signs, never turn a blind eye to the red flags, and always protect what's yours. Jessica's betrayal taught me that the worst kind of enemy can sometimes wear the face of the person you love most. And when it happens, you either fight or fall. I'm choosing to fight, and I'll make sure she pays for every lie, every betrayal, every stolen moment. The days that followed the confrontation were a whirlwind. The legal process kicked into gear quickly. My lawyer filed the paperwork for the patent dispute, and I started working closely with investigators to make sure we had every shred of evidence on record. Jessica was entirely off balance, playing the victim whenever anyone pressed her. She started throwing tantrums, calling me names, claiming I was ruining her reputation. But I didn't care. Her words didn't mean anything anymore. I knew the truth, and that was all that mattered. I also began to distance myself from her entirely. I moved out of the bedroom, changed the locks, and cut off all communication. I couldn't stand to be near her, not after everything I found out. Every time I saw her bitchy smirk or heard her lie, I felt a mix of disgust and anger. She had betrayed me in the worst way, not just emotionally, but professionally, stealing the research that could have helped millions of people fight climate change. I thought about all the late nights, all the sacrifices I made, and it made my stomach turn. How could she be so selfish, so manipulative. Meanwhile, I started reconnecting with friends and colleagues I trusted. I told them everything, how I uncovered her affair with Alex and the theft of our work. Most of them couldn't believe it. They knew Jessica as the sweet, ambitious woman, but I'd seen her cold, bitchy side behind closed doors. I warned everyone, just in case she tried to spin her version of events. I also began reaching out to some media contacts, considering going public with our story if it came to that. The stakes were high, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. What struck me most during this time was the realization of how deeply I'd been blindsided. I trusted Jessica with everything, my personal life, my career, our shared dreams, and she'd used that trust to betray me. It was like waking up from a nightmare I didn't know I was in. I kept asking myself why I didn't see it coming, why I ignored the signs, how I was so blind to her bitchy manipulations. But I also knew that dwelling on the past wouldn't do any good. I had to focus on moving forward, on protecting what was left of my work and my sanity. As I watched her try to spin stories to friends and family, I realized how desperate and petty she had become. She'd claim I was the unstable one, that I was just jealous and controlling. But the truth was clear. I'd uncovered her lies, her cheating, her theft. She built her entire facade on lies, and now it was crumbling. I felt a strange sense of relief, even if it was mixed with sadness. I was finally free from her manipulative grip, finally able to breathe again. I also knew I had to be cautious. Jessica was dangerous. In her own way, she tried to manipulate the situation, but I had everything documented. I knew I'd have to go to court eventually to fight for our patents and clear my name. That meant I had to stay calm, stay strategic, and not let her get under my skin. I refused to let her see me broken because that's what she wanted: control, dominance, the power to ruin me emotionally. But I was stronger than that now. I was ready to face whatever came next. Deep down, I was still angry. Angry that she could do this to me, to our work, to everything we believed in. But I was also determined. Jessica's bitchy, manipulative side was exposed, and I knew I'd come out of this better. The betrayal was a brutal lesson, but it taught me to trust my instincts more fiercely, to never ignore the red flags. I'd rebuild, I'd fight for what's right, and I'd get justice. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about making sure she pays for what she did and that I can finally move on without looking back. Now, after everything has unfolded, I find myself sitting here, reflecting on what's happened and what I've learned. Jessica is out of my life and the court case is moving forward. I've regained control over our patented technology, and I've made sure she can't just walk away with our work. The whole experience has been a brutal wake-up call, a lesson in trust, betrayal, and the dangerous lengths some people will go to for their own selfish gains. Honestly, I'm still hurt. I won't pretend I'm not. The pain of betrayal runs deep, especially knowing she lied to my face for so long, played me for a fool while she was busy screwing around and stealing my future. But deeper than that, I feel a strange sense of relief. I finally see her for what she really was: a bitchy, manipulative woman who'd do anything for her own benefit, even at the expense of others. All those late nights, all those hopes I'd poured into our project, it wasn't just about science or helping the planet. It was about trust, integrity, and genuine connection. When that was shattered, I realized how fragile all of it really was. Looking back, I think I've come to accept that I'll never truly understand why she did it. Maybe she was bored, maybe she thought she could get away with it, or maybe she just didn't care. Either way, her actions prove she wasn't worth the pain I went through. The good thing is I've learned to stand up for myself, to protect my work, my reputation, and my emotional well-being. I've become more cautious, more aware of the red flags, and more determined to never let anyone manipulate me again. I also realize now that I'll be okay. I thought I had lost everything: my marriage, my work, my trust. But I haven't. I still have my integrity, my ambition, and the drive to rebuild. I still believe in the project we started, and I know that someday I'll find someone who truly values me, who's honest and loyal, not a petty, bitchy liar like Jessica. That's what keeps me going, the hope that this pain is just a chapter, not the end of my story. So to anyone out there going through something similar, I'd say this: trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Gather your evidence, be strategic, and fight for what's yours, whether that's your work, your dignity, or your peace of mind. And never forget that betrayal says more about the person who does it than about you. Keep your head up, stay honest, and remember, sometimes the only way to truly move forward is to confront the darkness, expose the lies, and walk away stronger.